Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Shauna Spilling the Presley Tea. And as promised, this is the deep dive into many books and perspectives of Priscilla's book, Softly as I Lie to You. And I'm going to make a comparison with other books and what other people have said. So, you guys ready? Because I worked really hard on this, and I hope that you guys enjoy. All right. This is, like I said, I should have done this a little while ago, but I had to walk away for a little while, but I'm back, guys. So here we go. When Lisa Marie Presley's memoir hit shelves in 2024, fans finally heard her unfiltered truth. But just a year later, Priscilla Presley answered back with her own book, which is something I told you guys that she would do in 2024, didn't I, guys? And she did. The book was advertised as Life After Elvis, but reading more like Life Rewritten by Priscilla. Why does Priscilla always seem to publish when someone else is telling their story? Today, we're looking at three key moments: 1985, 1985, 2024, and 2025, to reveal a clear pattern of rebuttal and control. Act 1, the first narrative, Elvis and Me, 1985. 8 years after Elvis's death, Priscilla Presley published Elvis and Me. The book was a sensation. It painted her as the central love story in Elvis's life and positioned her as the keeper of his legacy. The problem? It's romanticized. It also downplayed and softened the edges. And it worked. For decades, Priscilla Presley's version was the version the public absorbed. She had the first say, and she held on tight to that authority. But if y'all did your research like some of us have had, you would already know that it was a complete fabrication. Might have been some things true, but Priscilla lies like the wind blows, guys. You know that. Act 2. Lisa Speaks. Lisa Marie's memoir, 2024. Fast forward nearly 40 years, Lisa Marie Presley, who had spent her life overshadowed by the Presley machine, finally had her say. In 2024, her memoir was released, completely with the help of her daughter Riley Keough. And it was raw. Lisa wrote about her trauma, her addictions, and yes, her relationship with her mother. For the first time, fans could hear Lisa's truth, not filtered through a press release, not repackaged by Priscilla Presley, but in Lisa's own words. It was powerful. It was painful. And it broke through the myth-making that had defined the Presley story for so long, guys. Act 2. That's what Act 2 was. Now we're at Act 3. Lisa's Final Days and Health Directive, 2023. But let's pause and step back 1 year to January 2023. When Lisa was rushed to the hospital. She wasn't unprotected. Lisa had a healthcare directive in place naming 4 people who would have to make medical decisions together. Her mother, Priscilla, her ex-husband, Michael Lockwood, and her children, Riley and Benjamin. Any decision had to be anonymous. But Benjamin had already passed in 2020. That left 3 people, Priscilla, Michael, and Riley. In her new book, Priscilla writes as if she alone made the final call to remove Lisa from life support. But legally and factually, that's impossible. She was only one voice among three voices that needed to be heard. This is important because it shows the same familiar pattern. Even in Lisa's final moments, Priscilla places herself at the center, rewriting the story. So she appears as the decisive figure, whether or not that's the truth. Act 4, The Counter, Softly as I Lie to You, 2025. Then comes 2025, just a year after Lisa's memoir. Priscilla releases her own new book, Softly as I Lie to You, Life After Elvis. On paper, it promised to tell her life after 1977. In reality, much of it rehashed Elvis and Me. In fact, it's nearly almost just Elvis and Me 2.0. Instead of exploring her decades beyond Elvis and all her lovers and what shenanigans that she was up to, she circled back to the same old story, retelling the Elvis years, reframing herself and smoothing over the very raw truths Lisa had shared the year before. It doesn't read like a memoir of life after Elvis. It reads like a rebuttal, a counter punch to Lisa's own voice. And fans noticed. Oh, yes, we did. Even Graceland didn't promote or sell Priscilla's new book, which says everything. Act 5, The Pattern. Let's put this all together in perspective here. In 1985, Priscilla publishes Elvis and Me, seizing the narrative. 2023, Lisa collapses, and in her final days, Priscilla claims the decisive role that legally wasn't hers alone to do. 2024, Lisa's memoir is finally released, giving her unfiltered truth to the world. 2025, Priscilla strikes back with Softly as I Lie to You, reasserting control. The pattern is clear here, folks. Whenever someone else speaks, especially Lisa, Priscilla is always going to respond, not by adding something new, but by correcting, contradicting, or competing, or even gaslighting what Lisa had to say. The conclusion of all of this? At the end of the day, what we see isn't just books on a shelf. We see a battle, guys, a battle of control over the Presley story, the Presley history, the Presley narrative that is the truth, the full truth. Lisa's 2024 memoir gave her the final word. She was denied in life. And Priscilla's 2025 book? It's less about life after Elvis and more about life spent rewriting, inserting herself, correcting others, and never letting go of the spotlight. I think one lady hit the nail on the head that I heard her say this numerous times. Priscilla is the bride at every funeral. Oh, that's funny. Maybe that's the Presley paradox. Elvis's story has always been filtered through competing voices. But in this case, one thing is undeniable. Lisa spoke, finally, and Priscilla couldn't stand to leave it at that. She couldn't stand to have just let it go. Rewriting the Legacy, a deep dive into Priscilla versus Lisa in print, 1985, 2024, and 2025. The overview is this. This analysis compares Priscilla Presley's two memoirs, Elvis and Me, 1985, Softly as I Lied to You, 2025, with Lisa Marie Presley and Riley Keogh's From Here to the Great Unknown, 2024. It tracks how Priscilla's narrative evolved, where it conflicts with Lisa's account that's strategically omitted, and how timing, tone, and motive point to a long-running pattern of narrative control. So here is the timeline of said control. 1985, gatekeeping begins. Elvis and Me arrives 8 years after Elvis's death, enshrining Priscilla as the central historian of the relationship and the public's primary lens on Elvis's private life. Tone, romantic, protective, image managed. 2024, Lisa speaks. Lisa Marie's memoir broke through myth-making with unfiltered accounts of trauma, parenting, addiction, Michael Edwards, Scientology, and the burden of a legacy. 2025, rebuttal of Priscilla's Softly as I Leave You is marketed as Life After Elvis, but returns repeatedly to the Elvis years, reframing past events and counter-positioning Lisa's disclosure. The tone of the book, more defensive and selective in what's confronted or denied. Also, gaslighting has been put in this book. The relationship, innocence, agency, and reframing. In 1985, Priscilla emphasizes a platonic, protected teenhood modeled by Elvis. That they didn't consummate the marriage until the wedding night, that she's naive and he's a gentleman, that he treated her like a sister until she was at least 17 and a half. That's what she was claiming. In 2025, Priscilla contextualizes the age gap via era norms and Southern gender roles, adapts the language of choice and wanting to please her man bit while adding omitted details like the Mike Stone affair as a catalyst for leaving. Tension. The same years are told two ways. First as innocent, under control, later as agency within norms. This contradiction raises the core question: powerless participant or self-fashioning collaborator? I will have to say more on the self-fashioning collaborator, because if you all have read the book Child Bride by Suzanne Finstad, it basically just shows the outline of how Priscilla's parents really wanted this as well. They collabed with Priscilla. They knew what the outcome would be, right, guys? Money, Elvis's name. If she were to have a kid, it would be more money. I mean, it was a collaboration. Now we're down to infidelity, jealousy, and evidence. In 1985, anxiety and not asking questions, jealousy over Anne Margaret, the vase incident, survival meant not probing. So she basically found out that Elvis did cheat when he did his movies, and she had to wait in Memphis, and Anne Margaret was one of them. And she had to realize that probing him was not a good idea. Anita Wood tried to do that a few times to Elvis, and he was not taking or handling that, folks. You never, ever, ever confronted Elvis to his face about seeing another girl. He didn't like it. There is a phone call between Anita Wood and Elvis on YouTube. Look it up. It's hilarious how much he's just a little stinker. But if you go, "Oh, you're cheating on me, Elvis," or "Elvis, how could you see that other woman behind my back?" He would always go, "Oh, whoa, 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 innocent, innocent, innocent." You know, he would never ever say he cheated. He didn't like confrontation. So the vase incident with Priscilla and Elvis over Anne Margaret was just her showing us that Elvis loved women. He couldn't just stick with one. And Priscilla knew to be his woman at that moment that she couldn't ask him about other women. She knew right then and there, after the vase was thrown and after the incident happened, not to confront Elvis about other women. That was just something she knew. If she was going to make it, if she was going to make it to being Mrs. Elvis Presley, she would have to never at that moment on mention other women to Elvis. So that was the infidelity and jealousy with the evidence to back it up. In 2025, her fear of discovering women's letters reframes her affair with Mike Stone as a response, not a foundational cause. So this basically is all the letters that she had read that were Elvis's that was given to him by other women, she put that on herself. She, by reading these private letters of Elvis and Anita Wood and Elvis and maybe someone or someone else, it don't matter, but she did it. She claimed she did it. She wrote it herself. She went into Elvis's private letters to read what women were writing him. And that's kind of like opening a Pandora's box, guys. So if you're just started out with some man and you're still in the early stages, and see, remember, she's 14, right? The last thing you want to do is go through his things when he's not there. And another thing you wouldn't want to do is read private letters that he receives from other women, because it's going to mess with your head. It's going to make you think. It's gonna put you in a compromising position either way. That's his stuff, not your stuff. So that compromises you with that. Plus, it makes you think jealousy stuff in your head, like, "Oh, he's kissing me, but he's writing he loves so and so. What's that?" Stuff like that. So that's what I mean by that. She shouldn't have done that. Elvis and Me was kind of like soft petals, okay? It's too romantic. There's some things in the book, yeah, but she romanticizes a lot about her and Elvis's love affair. But Softly as I Lie to You does do rational triggers, okay? Both books that Priscilla had wrote protects her dignity and shifts responsibility over time to other people, meaning even though all this stuff is her fault, I repeat, even though all this stuff is Priscilla's fault, she's blaming it and softening it and throwing it onto other people to give responsibility of her faults to others. So she's not taking responsibility for her own faults in her daughter's life, in her son's life, in everybody's life that ever met her in this book. She's backpedaling, gaslighting, and taking the responsibility off of her and putting it on others, which is bullshit, guys. Okay. She can't even take responsibility for her own actions. It's sad. And I will have to put out, even in the book, when Lisa wrote in her book about the essay of Michael Edwards upon her, Priscilla's book softens it. It's disgusting. Priscilla's book gaslights Lisa. Priscilla's book makes it like it's something that it wasn't. Excuse me, Lisa would have known what happened to her. It happened to her. So that's what pisses me off about Priscilla's book. I knew that that was going to happen, and it did. Really did. She downplayed Lisa's essay by Michael Edwards. She downplays the molestation. She downplays it all, which is pretty sick and sad at the same time. Now let's scroll down to drugs and image. Practicality versus pathology. In 1985, Priscilla's book, Elvis and Me, portrays pills are framed as functional, knowledgeable, separate from street drugs, sometimes shared to match, his sleeping schedule. In 2025, Softly as I Lie to You book, she says that drugs and addiction is earlier and deeper, linking back to Gladys's pill usage to Elvis's pill usage, with mood swings, paranoia enabling doctors and staging prescriptions and getting other doctors to write more prescriptions. It's sad. From normalization to pathology, accompanied by stronger blame assignment to outsiders who gave him anything he wanted because he was Elvis Presley. But why would she write about that now? This is supposed to be life after Elvis in this book, not life with Elvis, not life pre-Elvis. How dare she write about Gladys? Gladys wasn't even alive when Elvis met Priscilla. So her putting in Gladys and nobody around to even be able to say anything to confirm or not is wrong. It's wrong. Gladys has nothing to do with her story with Elvis. How dare she say that Elvis had a prescription pill addiction because Gladys started it. This woman, I'm telling you. Now, we're going to go down to, this will be my last, and then on Wednesday, we're going to finish this. Parenting and Power, Lisa's Cold House versus Priscilla's Discipline. In 2024, with Lisa's book, Priscilla was strict, appearance-driven, often absent. Nannies raised her most of the time. Trips, she would drop Lisa off at Scientology and said deal with her when she wasn't manageable. And Priscilla had a chilly emotional climate and disposition. Scientology as somewhere she was dumped and not protected. And this is out of Lisa's mouth. In 2025, with Priscilla's book, Softly as I Lie to You, it claims a good cop, bad cop type split. She equals structure and Elvis equals indulgence. Frames Scientology as a safer environment. You mean cult and children shouldn't be in it? Disputes and denies key harms. See what I'm saying, guys? So everything Lisa said, Priscilla just wrote and said, oh, that was nothing. Oh, that's no. Scientology was a safe environment. According to Lisa, she was dumped there. And according to a lot of people who left Scientology, even according to some of Ben's friends, you don't put children in Scientology. At all. Period. The conflict isn't merely factual, it's tonal. Lisa narrates neglect and control. Priscilla narrates duty and order. Both can be emotionally true while still contradicting each other's claims. And Lisa didn't lie, guys. I know that for a fact. So the one person that did lie about all this and gaslighting Lisa is Priscilla Presley. Here's the next part, and then I gotta go, but I'll finish this on Wednesday. The next part is Michael Edwards, the most damaging divergence. Priscilla in 2025, in her book, acknowledges a volatile partner with drug issues, says she learned of his obsession with Lisa so later, and recounts confronting him once with a minimizing explanation offered. Lisa's book in 2024 says that there was ongoing molestation and immediate disclosure to her mother. Describes concrete acts and physical bruising. Depicts maternal minimizing and conflict avoidance. So Lisa's basically saying that the molestation was ongoing, and she told her mother immediately, and her mother just brushed it off. She describes that the act became physical. He was hitting her. She was having bruising. Priscilla just, And then when she gets confronted about it, she writes her own book, again, gaslighting Lisa's experiences. Gaslighting Lisa's traumatic experience. How dare she? How dare she? This woman is beyond evil. Priscilla Presley, this is just awful what she did. And this ain't even half of it. This is just the beginning. Okay? Priscilla positions herself as blatantly informed. Lisa positions herself as ignored when it mattered. And that's the bottom line. Lisa was ignored when it mattered the most. And Priscilla ignored her repeatedly, over and over, downplaying her emotions, dropping her off at Scientology and have them deal with her, making nannies raise her and take her back and forth from school. Priscilla was too busy to bother. It didn't matter to her. That's the bottom line here, guys. She was an evil mother. She's not just an evil mother to Lisa. She's greedy, vile. She would use anyone she needed something from, and then when she got done, just be done with them and throw them away. And that's exactly what she's doing with Brigitte Cruz and Kevin Fialco. This woman is just despicable in so many ways, shape, and forms. So join me Wednesday, part 2. We're going to go and start talking about Scientology and control. Good subject, Scientology and control. But you know what, guys? I got to go. I have dinner to make and mama duties to do. But you could have went to any Elvis channel for your deep dive into Priscilla lies, but you didn't. You came to mine, and for that, I love each and every one of you for it. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. It was fun. It's also sad, though, going through all this, realizing what all she did, what all she is still doing. But anyways, guys, I'll see you Wednesday for part 2. All right? And I hope y'all have a blessed night, and just see you later, guys, okay? TCBTLC. God bless you all. And you know what? I'll see you on the other side. And Wednesday, of course. Bye, guys. I'll talk to you later. Be safe out there, okay?